Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Download the Uplift, a place where when we fall, we try and uplift you. I am one of your hosts, Gabriel Mark, live here in Texas, joined as always by the man with a plan. Don't call him Stan, Dane Davis.
What up, man? How you doing?
What's up, brother? Yo, today is an amazing day. It is a day in Download the Uplift history. And ask me, why is today such a historic day?
It might have something to do with that guy over there.
That guy right there in the middle. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first week 7 of the podcast, but our first week with a guest. He is one of our best friends. Just an all-around amazing dude. He's joining us. He decided to give us a few minutes of his time. His name is Johnny Gibson. What's up, dude?
Howdy. How's it going?
What's up?
Glad to be here. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be on. I've been listening to the podcast for, every episode here, but glad to support the homies and glad to be a part of it, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you, brother. Yeah,
Awesome,
full disclosure, this is our second time doing the intro, but, technical difficulties happen, yo. I mean, it is what it is, baby, but we're here, man, and we're pushing through just to offer up the best of entertainment, of uplifting positivity, fun entertainment we can offer. Johnny decided to give us some of his time tonight because it's cool, man. We all met at the Tone Factory out there in Las Vegas, and Johnny and I actually met under pretty crazy circumstances, but we'll get into that in a second. But yo, you guys both, you must have seen every walk of life walk through the doors working at a studio, especially in Las Vegas. Like, it must be wild.
Yeah, man, we get everybody from like big name celebrities to like Joe Blow local artists who's like, I've had this song written for 20 years and I want to get it on tape, or I want to get it recorded before I die, or just super like good music, super bad music, everything in between, audiobooks and dialogue stuff for movies.
Yeah, but Dane, you must have seen a bunch of walks of life come in there too, man. I mean,
Dane out of all of us has seen the craziest people.
It's true. I think I got like the worst luck on some of the clients at the very least. But yeah, like, so the craziest client that I had was this guy like randomly wanted to get in. Like it was one of those like callers who's like,
can I get in right now?
Yeah. Yeah, like basically a walk-in. He came to the studio late, first of all, and I told him, like, you're gonna have to pay for like all the time that I've been waiting here for you to get here. And he was like, no, that's cool, and blah blah blah, whatever. We started doing the session, and then like 5 minutes into it, he starts freaking out in the booth and like starts punching the wall, and then just cussing and like all this crazy stuff. Like he was on something, and like, but sometimes like stuff like that's happened like when we're by ourselves, and that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Dude,
Vinny, luckily Vinny had his client and like good friend of his was there. It's like this big dude, looks exactly like Andre the Giant.
Awesome.
Yeah. Dude, when Vinny came in, the dude was like this. He was like, like flexing at Vinny, and he's like, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah, and just like breathing heavily and all.
Yeah.
So we've definitely had some interesting stories out of there.
We've had to 86 some people. Yeah, but of course mostly good. But in any like business open to the public, you're gonna get crazies,
Yeah.
I mean, we all met 2020, so this was like prime Rona time. Like,
yeah,
you guys remember the nonsense and craziness that went on there. But we had like the craziest times, us three, and now it turned into like these two dudes are literally going to be groomsmen whenever I meet Mrs. Wright. I say it every time. Too bad I don't have visitors. But it's going to happen at some point, ladies and gentlemen. Even if I've come to peace with that actually today, I was like, even if I'm a 45-year-old, I mean, dude, I'll be the old dad of the graduation, but I don't care. It's happening. But either way, we met and we bonded. I got to give like the quick story of how we actually met. So I was at a very sketchy studio because I was like, I'm going to make music. So I was like, could I pay you money and you'll make me famous? And they're like, yeah,
Sure.
yeah. They're like, what are you gonna bring
What are
to
you
the
going to bring to the
table?
table? Yeah.
Listen, I was a mess, everybody. So we're gonna have yet another me, Johnny Snowball, 2018, 2019 being a mess story. But I decided to book time at the Tone Factory because the Tone Factory is like known as one of, if not the best studios in Vegas. So I booked time and I got a text message from Johnny. And how did that go?
You booked the time, you're all excited about it, you're like hyping me up, like I got some good music, everything's good, and like, oh, let's do this. And I think it was actually the day of that you texted me like, hey man, I'm not gonna make it, man. Last night was crazy. Got taken out of the bar on a stretcher. And I was like, yeah, all right, buddy. Because we get like, we just talked about this. We have so many crazies that are just like whatever excuses and stuff. So I kind of just like, whatever. But you did pay in full, which is very rare.
Thank you, sir.
And then later, maybe a couple days later or something, you like tried to book again, and I was like, this guy. And I just pawned it off on Dane. Well, I may have actually been busy, I think, but I was just like not. I was like, oh, this guy already blew me off once. I'm not like hyped to go work with him now.
Yeah.
Now I'm like bummed because I
Well,
but
no,
it all worked out.
Yeah. The thing about that studio is, if you don't know, if you're just listening to this, there's two rooms. There's the main room, which is Studio A, and then there's Studio B. Both are professional quality, but most of the time, both rooms will be booked out. So like in between, we literally hung out between, like if Johnny got off of one of the rooms. So it was like literally the forming of like, kind of borderline brotherhood. Like it's just the stuff that the time in between recording and a lot of beer being drank. But 2020 was a wild time, probably just for you guys in general. Dane, like what was it like with the Rona and stuff like that?
I think back in those days we had way more like crazy clients coming through, because it was everyone from like all over the country coming down using like the stimulus check and all that.
We had every rapper with their stimulus check knocking on our door. Like a lot of them would be like, I finally got funding for my record. Like Uncle Sam's funding your record.
Yeah. And good on them, because like they take the opportunity during that time, and we had like all kinds of people, mostly like just like great people to work with, but just flakes or like people that are out partying on the strip, and then they come to the studio and they just start like causing a scene and stuff like that, and it's just
Vegas.
It's Vegas. Like I was saying, that one client was the craziest. I think
sounds it.
Probably the worst one that me and Johnny had together, or one of the worst ones, because we've had a couple. I would say were the two that like walked out and didn't want to pay.
Oh, dude, you're talking about We Ain't Homies?
Yeah.
Oh, let's play.
To this day, the worst song I've ever recorded, but also the song I've shown the most people.
The best song ever.
Yeah, dude.
I got it.
8 hours in Studio A. I mean, he wasn't there. They came way late. But they were not showing up. And we're like, man, like we're here ready to go. Like, where are you guys? You coming? Like, we're gonna bounce. And they're like, no, we're coming. We're coming. Like, okay, well, like, time booked is time booked. Like, you still like we're here. The studio's booked out. This is time we have with other clients. You still got to pay for this time. That's how it works. I think they came like 3 or 4 hours late. They finally got there. We're just kind of screwing around and crazy and just silliness, and made a terrible song. And then at the end, they're like, "We're not paying. We're leaving."
Yeah, because like at the end, they're like, "Oh, wait, you're charging us for the full time, like the time that we weren't here."
Yeah, man.
Even though we told him, we told him like,
and he was like, "It's fine. We'll be there."
Yeah. So and you have those kinds of clients, and I think one of the telling things is like if they don't show up on time, then you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, I musicians, I'd say most of my clients don't show up on time, but they're usually 2, 3, 5 minutes late. That's kind of normal for musicians. But when it's like an hour, then I'm just like, nowadays I'm just like, okay, bye, sorry, not happening.
Well, I mean, listen, even though we talked about it, and by the way, that was a true story. I really did get carried out of a bar, but I would introduce our first session. I thank God every day. But no, it's the. Not only was that, but you guys have people coming in with like straight YouTube beats. Like, hey man,
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to make this into a song.
Yeah,
But
record, mix, and master in 2 hours.
obviously, it sounds like things were heating up a lot there at the studio. You know what else it's heating up is today, because today is the first day of summer. We're recording this on June 20th, and I saw on X that today, 6/20, June 20th, is the first day of summer. So real briefly, guys, you guys ready for summer out there in Las Vegas?
Sure. I feel like it. Dane said it earlier. I feel like it was summer 10 degrees ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
This week's actually cooling down a little bit. It's like 98 to like 102.
Yeah, the funniest thing about this is that we already recorded this segment, but we're doing it again, and the same thing happened still, even though they didn't mean to. If you're watching on YouTube, rewind it for real. When we talk about summer in Las Vegas, people, they both look bummed out. So Godspeed to both you. We're not even going to get into it. It's really, really hot. Don't move.
Yeah.
Las Vegas is full. Stop moving there. And he brought up the prices and got everyone out of there. Yeah. One more thing I wanted to show you. Listen, Johnny, I need to show you something that you've never seen before on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being absolutely, you would purchase this, you would find a loan, you would find a way, and 1, you're like, what is that? What would you say if I showed you this? And I will describe it to the audience after we get his first impression.
Oh, 10 out of 10, 100% classic Dale Earnhardt Jr. stock car Monte Carlo from like 2000. Yeah.
2000.
Right there, 2000.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a street legal, full sponsors and everything, Dale Jr. Bud number 8 car. It's got a place for a license plate, real headlights, wipers for 36 racks. I think
36 is a little high.
No, that's not enough. I pay more.
100.
Dude, you could drive around in a NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, I'd drive a stock car all around.
Oh my gosh, 100%, man. That's the way to go. It's just wild that Johnny sent me a picture of a street legal NASCAR, and of course it shows up on my feed.
Oh yeah.
You know, guys, these things are listening to us. This Alexa, the Siri, Amazon, they're all tracking you. It's wild. Like, or like last week at the end, Dane and I were talking about Dr. Squash, and no BS, I sent him a picture. Literally, I saw an advertisement for the soap Dr. Squash. Dr. Squash will take a sponsorship. But yeah, it's have you guys had any like distinct things that you remember you talking about a product and it like came up in your feed or anything?
Yeah, I actually put this to the test one time with my buddy when we were working at this church in San Antonio, and we were like kind of talking about it, to being like, is it really doing that, or is it like, oh, I've just looked that up before and I feel like I've been talking about it, you know?
Right.
So like all day we're like, okay, we're going to talk about something that like we would never talk about, or that's like not something we, you know, would ever look up or anything like that. So all day we were both like, oh boy, I'm excited to have a baby, like I'm going to be a dad, and like, you know, that kind of stuff. And like we were literally like I sure am glad I'm going to be a dad soon. And literally getting ads for like strollers and car seats and like baby clothes.
How
like,
long?
It's 100% real. The same day. Like
that's crazy.
Hours.
Wow.
It's totally true.
What about you, Dane? Any like, I remember we were all in the studio talking about John Deere tractors. I still haven't gotten the ad for a John Deere tractor because
yeah,
we're all trying.
I think sometimes they know. I think
yes.
they're like
oh, they're testing us.
He doesn't actually want that, so we're not.
You hear that, Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, I've had plenty of those, especially anything audio related, because that's my entire life.
But sometimes with audio stuff, I feel like I've probably looked that up before, so I'm like, well, maybe. But like, when I did that test, I was like, dude, this is real.
Yeah, you're like, I've never had a baby.
I don't think.
Well, couple quick show notes to get in before we get into the meat of this, and that's interviewing the one and the only Johnny Gibson. We are on the YouTube channel. We're at 108, so we're up 1 from last week. Baby, we're still grinding. We stay consistent. Don't make me play that Tom Brady clip again. We're consistent over here. I was saying that the TikTok's going well, but I think because it's a business, they're doing really good views, about like 800 a video, which is really encouraging for the shorts. But then like I look through the likes and I'll click on one of the likes because it's getting like 40 to 60 likes a video, which is big numbers, but not a lot of followers. But I'll like look at the people that actually like it, and it's like they're following 30, 100, 3,000 people, and now I'm like, oh, am I getting like, is TikTok sending me ghost accounts to try and lure me into investing? But like, just not a lot of people are following TikTok. You might like something, but to actually sit and follow someone's page, I feel like you need to be really engaged on it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that I like follow on TikTok. I watch all their videos, but I don't actually like subscribe to them or whatever you call it. It's just TikTok's like, oh, every time this person's video comes on, you watch it all the way through. So I'm just gonna keep showing you that. But I never actually pressed the like, subscribe button or whatever you call it.
Yeah. They're doing face scans and just like, seems to like this one.
We're not going to go down that AI rabbit hole or all that, how all these things are learning what we want and what we say. But I'm sure like if we really got like a look behind the curtains and where it's going to be in 10 years, I'm just going to say it would probably scare the heck out of everybody.
Yeah.
Or, it's exciting as well. It
look
depends
at you.
on how you use it.
There you go. Look at this positive.
The uplift. Wow.
Yeah, right.
Dude. And that was 100% natural, ladies and gentlemen. He goes, you know what? It could be a good thing, man. Dude, I do the journaling. Yo, I just want to say one of the crazy things about me moving away from you beautiful people and my family up in Massachusetts is that, to see you guys, unless I want to be in a car for a while, I got to fly. And today, United Airlines flight turned back to Connecticut after a piece of the engine lining fell off during liftoff. And I know you're going to say, Boeing, but this was an Airbus. So, I mean, I'm just saying like these things are really getting out of hand. And for someone that flies quite a bit,
it's scary, man.
It's scary stuff. What do you guys think?
Yeah. It's crazy, dude. I mean, it seems like every week we're seeing something happening on a plane. Either it's parts falling off or like weird fights on a plane.
Right.
Yeah. And, it's not just, the airlines, but that's a major one. We were talking about it a couple podcasts ago. It's just like that. Actually, it gets me angry because like it's such a dangerous thing to like oversee if you're not putting parts on, or it's like poor manufacturing. But like every like electronic thing out here
we go.
But like every electronic device is coming out now, or like has been coming out since the pandemic. Like there's a lot more manufacturing defects and stuff like that. So it's like they had to scramble to get parts and stuff like that. But it's just like how far does that go? Really? We're seeing the effects of it even unfold like to this day. So I just wonder.
I never thought of it that way, but that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing about that whole like supply chain issues, like how long? I mean, I know that's not what you're talking about, but I felt like by 2022 they were kind of milking it. I don't know, like you still can't get anything. But
come on,
I saw actually a thing. We were just talking about TikTok, but I saw a thing about like apparently you're never going to get on a fully perfect plane. Like they all have problems because dude, these things get put through the ringer, but they're made to, but they're always just enough to be safe to fly. And that was always the standard. I mean, they're always going to have problems. Apparently there's not ever going to be like perfectly flawless, probably right out of the factory. But the fact that like safety things are failing, it is scary. I mean, like,
yeah. Well, so there's a great YouTube channel called Mentor Pilot that I watch. And I mentioned that as well when we were talking about this a couple podcasts ago. But he actually explains like very well like what is acceptable, what's safe to continue flying, and that's something that the pilot has to basically like they go around, they inspect the plane, they do all the tests, and they make the final call on like, is this safe to fly? And with certain things it might be air traffic control as well, making that call, but that's mainly like weather conditions. Stuff gets overlooked, but it's just like, why is it becoming more frequent and stuff like that? Is it like budget cuts, hour cuts, or what's going on?
It seems like every So, well, there's always going to be defects on any product, but it's like, especially something like people are literally putting their lives on the line for us. Like, maybe we could have another safety check or something, you know?
Yeah. And it's highly
just,
regulated already, but it's just the more like missing steps there are, or when people are like stretched thin with their time, like to work and all that stuff, it's like there's bound to be some like things that fall through the cracks. So, but
the problem is when things like this happen. Dude, going to the airport in general, this is why when the channel gets real big and we're flying private only, dude, everyone is just, you can feel the anxiety in an airport, the bathroom, everyone's like, blah, blah, doing like, making all kinds of crazy noises and smells. And you're going through this freaking nightmare. There's a delay. There's a kid crying. It's just like, you're on there, you're sitting next to someone that stinks. Like, it's just, and now that we're adding this into it, it's just,
no one's excited to go fly.
I will say, if it was an ad for benzos and Xanax, I will say that if you're on those things, you're like, I don't know, man, the plane might go down. Like, what about you? Can I get a scotch?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I always get some Jack and Cokes and stuff like that before.
Yeah, I'll break my whiskey rule if I'm flying, especially if it's like across country. When I was doing Vegas to Boston. Because whiskey's just, it's just a bad idea, but I'll break that for flying. It's like, whew, I need something that came out of a smoked barrel. Yeah. What's your go-to, Johnny?
Just something like, I'll just add, I don't know why. I think it's something to do with like my allergies. I just get like terrible, terrible migraines every time I fly, and I hate it, dude. It's like at one point, I think I was like flying on a business trip when I was working at that church. And we all are just like taking shots of NyQuil.
Oh my goodness!
Which you guys just talked about last episode.
Yeah,
he has been listening.
Living dangerously.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was saying like, what's your go-to cocktail? Like he's like Dane's is Jack and Coke. Mine is honestly it's like Dewar's White Label. But what's your like? If you are flying, what are you drinking?
Apparently,
I've never drank on a plane ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never been on a flight longer than like 3 hours.
Wait, we just learned something new.
To Texas.
Yeah. That flight's like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours.
Well, no, dude, apparently your cocktail is NyQuil.
Yeah, apparently, I guess so, yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, the whole purpose and the whole exciting thing of this channel is that we're going to do interviews, and I get to interview one of my best friends with a really cool story. And to get that going, to kind of sum up where we're at in life, I'm going to hit y'all with the quote of the week. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, rolling like a big shot. This one's pretty cool because I had different ones written down, but this one actually like screamed like from both of you guys. So, success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. Albert Schweitzer. And that really made me think of you guys both working in music. But Johnny, today's all about you. That made me think about you a lot, bro. Like you clearly, I'm sure you have rough times at your gig, but you chase the dream to do what you like. And that quote screamed like, if you like what you're doing, are you really working type deal? What do you think of that one?
I love it, man. Yeah, that's something that my wife and I both kind of live by and have been like our basically life goals. Like that is our 10-year plan or whatever, Mm-hmm. We both moved out here with like basically no work and stuff and decided like, okay, we're just going to do what we want to do. We could have easily like for me, example, I was working at a church and I could easily go to a church and work there and do that. And which is cool, but it's not what I wanted to be doing my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, you know what, we can eat ramen for a little bit and struggle a minute and just go hard and take every gig and, be at the studio with Dane at 2 a.m. with crazy rappers and, just splitting sessions and stuff and doing what we have to do to make it work. Just so like now at this point in our life, we're like, yeah, man, we struggled through it for a minute, but a crappy day at the studio is better than a good day in a cubicle,
Yeah, that's true. We actually, we used to split our studio sessions when we first started. So we actually took a pay cut.
Yeah. When we first started there, I didn't know Pro Tools that well because I was in Studio One for years, and then Dane didn't know outboard gear that much because he hadn't just had the opportunity to get his hands on it yet. So we're like together. We made like one full engineer. We both totally learned from each other, and it was cool. It was, interesting time.
Yeah, and that not much has changed because we still learn from each other all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still like asking Johnny about like gear and all that stuff. But yeah,
And I'll be like, dude, what's the shortcut for this?
Well, we're all dream chasers, I think, in our own way. But I think that if you're listening to this, or if you're watching this, or both, and let me just sum up in 7 quick things of who Johnny is. If you're like, who is this dude? I don't even know. Well, number 1, he's one of my best friends, right? Number 2, he's a young 2-year newlywed. Number 3, he's a senior audio engineer and producer at the top studio in Las Vegas, audio studio in Las Vegas. He is he's worked with a ton of big names, a ton of artists, and actually major labels. So like that, we're not going to say any artists by name, but that person you heard that's getting paid millions of dollars, they probably worked with Johnny. He is a music creator himself and live engineer. He is a freelance tinkerer and mechanic. And last but certainly not least, he is a dog father to a lovely puppy named Stax. So that is who you're listening to. That's who we're talking to today.
Man, you made me sound so much cooler than I really am.
Did I leave anything out, Dane?
So my head is this big right now.
What do you say, Dane? What do you think about Johnny in a couple? Like, did I kind of sum it up, or anything you'd like to add about our boy?
You did a great job, man. I just add in like a best friend of mine. Mm-hmm. We've definitely been like in the grand scheme of things, we haven't like known each other for a bunch of time, but it's been like 5-6 years maybe.
Whoa.
Which is that's decent, but
yeah. I think it's also not about how the amount of time you spend with somebody, but the kind of time that you spend with people. Because you could go to like grade school with someone from kindergarten through 8th grade and like know them, but you're not best friends. But like we've spent like good quality time, like connecting and like brotherhood, like you said. So like we're like super tight.
Like you're saying, out at like 2 a.m. doing studio sessions, and like my favorite thing would be like after the session or before, or like sometimes before, we would like hang out outside the studio, just drink a couple beers, have some cigarettes.
Yeah, McMullins. That's where I'm going after this. Going to meet my sister there.
Oh,
I'm jealous.
I'm legit jealous. Yeah.
Yeah. Get those nachos, a pile of nachos.
As big as your head, and then some.
Yeah, it's always a mistake people make. Like, oh, let me get the nachos.
Let me get the large.
Yeah. If you get the large, it's done. Like, you can't do that.
Well, you mentioned about friends from childhood. I mean, dude, I literally, like, if I was to get married tomorrow, I know who the groomsmen would be, and it would be, 2 of you guys. But you guys are like the ride or dies. You guys have seen me in some really, how about this? Times when you could have been like, all right, now he's just a client. He's not like a homie anymore. And I own that. But I do have some homies that I don't talk to anymore. Like, you want to talk about childhood homies? I mean, Johnny, we get it. You're freaking awesome. And you got childhood homies. I wasn't a groomsman at his wedding, by the way. I was just a participant.
I'm sorry.
But no.
Johnny put me to work.
Oh, yeah. And Dane got put to work.
Yeah, I loved it. It was cool.
It was like straight up Game of Thrones, like Stark House Winterfell, and they had no idea. But it was so, I like want to go have mine there. I don't have any visitors, but it's crazy because you guys just mentioned childhood friends and like the fact that we are like such a tight crew, because I think that if you don't go through some of the dog days and the dark times as a friend, that's when like you're a real one. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. Yeah,
definitely.
People, not too many people will stick around for the lows. They'll stick around for the highs, and those kind of friends are cool as well. Not everyone's gonna fit the bill for everything that you need in life.
Right.
But yeah, it's for sure true. Like when you're no longer having fun and you got to deal with like some serious stuff, you definitely know who your friends are, and it just makes you closer for it. So
I think there's a saying, I don't remember it exactly, but something along the lines of like, if you don't love me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best, or something like that.
Yo, that
Yeah.
sounds like you've been listening to Download the Uplift, man. Wow, I love that. And you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
know me, I don't like false compliments.
Yeah.
If you were an action figure, your pull string, that would be your catchphrase.
Well, it's crazy because
Or
I think
no
of
one
both,
listens to me.
I think of both of you in this way. Like, I'm wearing this cool NASCAR hat. Guess who gave it to me? Johnny's mom. Like, that shows what a loving family he comes from, and same with you, Dane. And I think that's why you guys are the way you are. I mean, and that's why, you know, it's you know, some people come from rough stuff and they form their own personalities, but I think that both you guys coming from where you guys came from, I mean, your mom, Johnny, gave me like a full thing of like Christmas presents. I was like, dude, and like good ones.
Yeah, yeah.
But like when you guys come from I've mentioned it to Dane in one of the pods, but when you're from a house of like love and positivity like that, it's gonna be in your bones, man. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we're wearing this hat that's probably from the 70s. I don't think this is like a 2000.
No, that's straight 80s.
Oh, 80s.
It looks like 80s, late 80s.
I'm wearing a white, I guess trucker-esque like NASCAR hat that Johnny's mom gave me. And but no, it just screams out. I think it was for like one of my birthdays. She's like, make sure John gets this hat or Christmas. So
yeah. I appreciate you bringing that up, because I attribute like the small amount of success that I've had, and just like, you know, the good things that happened to me to like a good upbringing. I really appreciate my parents. Just like everything, you know, when I was in high school, I was like, I want to learn audio. Like totally supported everything I did. If when I was like, I don't want to go play basketball, I want to skateboard, or like everything I was like wanted to do, they're just like super supportive. And it was like, all right, let's do it. Let's figure it out, you know? And even like when I was like graduating high school and was like, oh, I need to like think about college or like what to do, my dad was the one who like found the audio tech school that I went to and was like, let's do this, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. I agree. Like the success that I do have, it's, you know, all through the encouragement of my parents and support and stuff like that. And then, you know, just, being there for you, it's huge. And I'm very lucky to have that, because, you know, not a lot of people do have that. And it's
right.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, that's one, you know, you mentioned that. And I think that there is, because, you know, there was some chaos in my household growing up, but that's all we'll say. But I think that a good thing is that if you decide that you want to kind of break the mold and improve yourself, there's always time. Even if you're listening to this at 60 something years old, and, you know, within reason, if you want to work on yourself and you decide you want to work on yourself, it just, there is that option too, you know? So if you're listening to this, you're like, oh man, I might not have come to such a cool place or whatever. Like, just know that like your destiny is in your control, I guess, without sounding too like, you know, deep on it. But I think,
yeah. I always say that as long as you're alive, there's always potential. There's always possibilities. And that's like the biggest thing that I try and live by every day. It's just, you know, as long as I'm breathing, then there's hope for change. There's potential to change. And, you know, it just means like not being stagnant. If you want to do something, then go out and do it. And that's all you can do.
Nice.
Yo,
always moving forward.
Yeah.
Hey, listen to you. I love it. And upwards. But hey, right into it, Johnny. So what like inspired you to pull the trigger and inspire you to actually head to Vegas? Like what made you be like, that's it, 702, here I come. Let's go, baby.
Well, my wife actually moved here first. So we were dating for a few years already and stuff. And like, I had already known like she was the one. And actually she was like modeling at the time. So that's what she was doing for her career, like professional modeling.
Heck,
no big deal.
hey, tough life, huh?
Dating a model, married.
Yeah, that's no big deal. She lives in Canada though. No, she moved. She was wanting to move to California because that's where, you know, the industry is and stuff. But ended up doing the Vegas thing because it was like more affordable, and she had been to Vegas and loved Vegas. So we did the long distance thing for like a year, and I was actually going to propose to her before I found out that she wanted to move, and I was like, okay, well, I'll move with you, but like, we got to do this, you know, in pieces basically. And she was like really pushed me to that. Like that year, like I was like working, like doing like some of the biggest live gigs I'd ever done at the time you know, just like trying to like build my resume and like just like doing studio sessions. I had a small studio of my own there that was like nothing like Tone Factory, but like, you know, what I could do at the time. And I was like doing some really cool records with some really cool people. And she like really pushed me to like, yo, like, let's get this resume up. So like when you move here, we can do some like what you want to do. So yeah, that's what, you know, finally the day came. I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm going to move. And I was supposed to have, I was working at church at the time too. I was doing like my studio thing, live production company, and the church, the live production company, and my studio. And the church was supposed to have a job lined up for me here at another church. And like a week before I moved, they're like, oh, by the way, that didn't happen. Sorry. Like, what? I already like, we got our apartment, we moving truck, sold stuff, you know, everything's packed up, ready to go. So I moved here with, you know, whatever I had in my bank account at the time, and with no job, and just like figured it out, you know?
Wow.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that. Or you might have explained it to me like a while back, but I mean, probably meant to be, because
yeah, if I would have had that job at that church, I would probably be working there right now just floating, because like it's like guaranteed money, you know. It's like it's easy and especially if you're like benefits and stuff, it's like hard to leave that to do what you want to do, you know. So in hindsight, I'm glad that didn't work out.
That's crazy though. Like the same thing happened to my dad when we moved here. He was guaranteed a job basically. And then like by the time we got here, the casino actually shut down.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Which one was this? Which casino? Or
I'm forgetting what casino it was. I think it was like a casino on a Indian reservation. So I think so. Or it was owned. But yeah, it was like the night we got here. Flying all the way from Africa. He got the news and he was like, well, but you know, it's sort of, it's the same deal as like all of us, you know, it's like, you got to figure it out. And I learned that from him. Definitely. And my mom, but he got a job. He took anything he could
get. Yeah. It almost makes you stronger, you know, and like more grateful for that. Like, when you do get that job, it's like, oh, okay, I got to hold on to this. I got to do like really, really good and like make this company like need me, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's super helpful that you both are in the artistic field. Like if she was an accountant or vice versa. But you know, you two are like blatantly soulmates. You know what I mean? Like it's written in the stars.
It's a lot of people in my industry are or our industry are divorced or like single or like not good with their wife or their spouse or their, you know, whatever. And it's pretty cool that my wife she does video now, for people that don't know. She's a videographer. So that we're in similar fields and have similar schedules. It's cool that we like, she gets it, and I get that, you know, she might be out filming super late or like super early, and like not to say it's not hard sometimes, but it's cool that like we understand each other's like, this is how the dynamic, you know.
Yeah, similar schedules as in no schedules.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, I'm going to ask this to anyone that we have on that's married, but did you feel anything change, like when the pastor or the person actually said, you know, you guys actually said, I do, and I now pronounce you? I know, like, listen, when you guys were together for a while, you're best friends, but did anything change? I know, or is that like a myth? Like, at least in your book?
I would say in the moment it was just like pretty emotional and like oh wow, it's like we already knew, you know. But it was like in the moment it was like, oh wow, that's really cool. And the night it was like, okay, we're married. Like it's kind of like you get the tingly feeling and stuff. But like the next day it was kind of just like, wow, that was really cool. We did, like, we were still excited and hyped from like the wedding and stuff, but it wasn't like I love you more. Like I couldn't. There was no way I could even love her anymore. Like I know, as cheesy as that sounds, but like, you know what I mean?
Are you kidding me? Dude, you're making us all look bad and everything. But no, it's good. Well, no, but before you even got married, you guys were just, you know, a couple in Las Vegas, but, you know, things were looking, you know, you were in your living situation and not exactly the dreams weren't reached yet. So like what did you do to like stay motivated? Are you guys just naturally, or are you just naturally like, I want this dream to work as an audio engineer in Las Vegas. I'm going to get after it. Did you do anything specific to like stay motivated that might be able to help me chase a dream or our audience or anything like that? Not to put you on the spot, but like, what about you uniquely?
I think we both are kind of in the same way where it's like, just having like even small goals helps. Like we were living in a little 2-bedroom apartment for the longest time, and which is like not that great when you're like an audio guy. You can't have speakers going or like, can't be like jumping around doing video stuff or whatever. Or even like you can't even work on your truck there. You know what I mean? So that was something like we were super grateful to have a roof over our heads and like pay our bills and all that. But just like we were like, oh man, if we could have our own offices where we could like work separately. And like towards the end too, Ali started working from home and was like, I need to like take meetings. And I'm just like out here in the living room, like by the kitchen, or you know what I mean? It's like you don't have your own space really. So that really pushed us. And we just started. Both of us have just worked a lot, and just we both are kind of at a point and have been where it's like, let's just work as much as we can now to like get our careers like good, and then eventually when we have kids, so we don't have to be a parent that's like, oh, sorry, I missed your birthday. I was, at the studio, or I was on a video shoot. So it's like we're making good enough money to where we're like, oh, my kid's birthday's coming up, sweet, taking that day off, or my kid's hockey game's coming up. I'll make sure I'm there for that.
That's definitely the goal. That's also my goal as well. It's like just having that bit of freedom, like work hard now, and then hopefully at some point, you can make your own kind of schedule. So.
I've always said I don't care to be rich or be like the most famous engineer or whatever. Like I just want to make enough money to where I can go to a restaurant and not look at prices on a menu. That's when I'm like, that's the golden spot.
Yeah.
So you got enough money to spend, not stress over money, but it's not so much money that you're stressing over money,
Me personally, I want $1 billion, but
that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's say Billy in Iowa is listening right now and he wants to break out and be an audio engineer. Like, honestly, what kind of advice would you give Billy? Billy, if you're listening, from a dude that literally started from the bottom, now he's here. What advice would you give to someone trying to like break into that field?
Just do it, man. Like, get your hands on some kind of gear. You can get stuff cheap, and like honestly, to like learn and understand like the basics of like gain staging, EQ, compression, that stuff. Like, get yourself a cheap analog mixer or little console. You get like analog ones like super cheap that are old, and then just use it and play with it and like understand like, oh, when I turn this EQ, listen to what it does, and like understand like, oh, okay, this sounds better, this sounds worse, this I can cut or boost, and just get your hands on gear and just you have to love it and enjoy it. It has to be your hobby too. Like there's times when like I rarely have a day off, but when I do, I'll come in my office and be like mixing something or playing with something in audio. My wife's like, what? You do this all day and you have your day off. Like, you want to do it more, But it's like
passion,
it's literally my hobby,
Yeah. Well, and you're a tinkerer. Don't forget.
yeah.
Side tinkerer.
Yeah.
Dane, would you agree with that? Because you're same field. What would you say to someone like what we're going to say to Billy in Iowa, bro?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's great to start out with analog as well. Like when I started, I sort of did it simultaneously, like studio recording equipment with also like a live sound gig. I think it's good to do both, and I think you should strive to do both, especially because sometimes the work isn't consistent, and it just makes it more consistent when you can do like live shows and studio recordings if you have that in your town. And I would say like just take any job. Like the thing that really drove me into this field was, I've been a musician forever, but I was working like, regular jobs, office jobs and stuff like that, which, it's great, to have that kind of stability and everything. But I turned around one day and I just said, like, I need to do anything that keeps me in the entertainment biz, because that's what I know. That's what inspires me, and that's what I'm good at. So, yeah, I took like any sound job I could get. I not that I'd recommend this for everyone, but you know, I've done this multiple times as well. But I got into a bit of debt, quite a lot of debt for what I was making at the time, and I bought, you know, my first Focusrite interface, bought Pro Tools, bought a mic, and bought some Yamaha, you know, studio monitors and stuff like that. And yeah, you know, the rest is history. I would say go for it, dive in, take any opportunity you can get, and also set yourself up for success, because you don't want to be messing around with gear that just isn't functioning well for you. And you know, you really want to learn the basics of audio and not have anything interfering with that, that could demotivate you when you're like just starting out, you know, because it gets hard.
That's a good piece, because I definitely made the mistake of like buying the cheap gear that's no good and be like, well, I can afford it, and you know, like it's better to buy one good piece of gear than 5 cheap pieces of gear, you know?
Okay. All right. Now I can agree with that, but I'm almost also getting from what both of you said is that it's kind of like we talk about a lot on the channel for like getting after a dream or a goal. And Johnny said it like that was his first sentence when I asked the question. He's like, just do it. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to do a podcast, just start recording on your phone. But like being an audio engineer specifically, you were like, yo, just get after it. So let me ask you this then. If Billy in Iowa, if he just gets like $100 or so worth of cheap stuff on Amazon, that's enough to at least put your toe in the water, right?
Yeah, there's a, you know, I say, you know, don't buy the cheap crappy stuff. Like you're going to start out on something, you know, I'm not saying like, you can't get into it until you can buy a Neve Pre and, you know, U47. No, like definitely everyone's going to start out on like their Focusrite 2-channel interface. And that's not what I mean by buy cheap gear. Like obviously that's what you need to start out on. I literally just said like buy a cheap mixer, you know?
Right.
Like get your hands on whatever gear you can. But once you're like in it and you're like, okay, I want to do this, I'm going to start investing in gear. Yeah. That's when you're not like, then like just wait and just get something that like is tried and true. And that, you know, but you'll be able to keep or resell.
To that effect, like you're saying, you know, buy $100 worth of gear on Amazon. I'd say good luck on that with audio.
That's fair.
If you basically like if you did get something that added up to like $100 or $200 or something like that, like all together, you know, with like studio monitors, the actual DAW, the interface, and a microphone, like a 2-channel interface and a mic. I mean, that's all you really need to do, like record vocals, and then you just mix everything in box. But you know, if you're only spending like $100-$200 on that, you are, and John, you know this, like just buying like some cheap lav mics on Amazon, like
trash.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to even start
it's hard to
learning.
Improve or learn or even understand the concept of it with something that doesn't really even work properly.
Yeah. When
there's a happy medium. Like you can get some like, you know, Behringer stuff or something that's like prosumer maybe, or, you know, that kind of stuff where it's like, it's not the most expensive best thing, but it's like, okay, we know this is like a good company. It's not like a microphone brand microphone, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that anybody, well, especially this group right here, I don't know if there would ever be a time when you've truly made it. Maybe if we're on a G5 sipping cold ones. But so I'm not even going to ask you when was a time when you like a moment that you made it, right? But do you have like anything that comes to mind? I don't want to put you on the spot that like you're super proud of, like right off the top of your head, like something that stands out that like, man, I nailed that, or you created something. Like what could you tell our audience, Johnny?
I don't know if I have like an exact moment, but to this day I still have these kind of moments of like almost like when you're in a video game and you unlock the next like superpower, like the next, you know, the next level, Like I have moments where I have that feeling. Like I remember when I was like first learned about drum buses, and I was like, oh my god, my drums are like amazing. And like I just unlocked like this, like, oh, it makes sense. And then it's like I learned about like, oh, you can do automated effects on vocals or on anything. You know, it's like, oh, that just like unlocked a whole new thing. You know, it's like, oh, I just like it opens your mind. Like now that I know this, I can apply this to like so many other things. And there's just been several, you know, like almost milestones of like where you just learn something. You're like, oh, that just opened up a whole new world, like a whole new bag of tricks for me. You know.
Well, this channel is about, you know, we always try and focus a little bit on you know, mental health and stuff like that. So any kind of journey, but especially when you got a new marriage, you got a new career, you're kicking butt, but like you eventually end up doing pretty well. But like any kind of journey to success, right, can be pretty stressful.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you particularly like maintain, like for Billy in Iowa, how can we, or me out here, how do you manage your stress and like maintain your mental health? Or are you even thinking about that these days? Because if not, you should, my friend. Did I tell you about journaling yet?
I have not tried the journaling yet. I can barely read or write. But no, I mean, no matter how successful you get, there's always going to be like, you have bad days. Everyone's got bad days, you know. Maybe your equipment's not working right, or you just had like an ungrateful client, or like somebody that's just like, sometimes you have clients that you just can't make happy, you know. And or maybe sometimes you just might, you know, man, that mix I did wasn't that great today, you know. I know I could have done better than that. Again, like I said before, I just tried to tell myself any bad day at the studio is better than a good day in a cubicle or whatever.
Amen. A great mindset.
You know, working in our field is like, we're both freelance too, and so it's like you have other difficulties. You know, like there's, you know, at least for myself, it seems like it's either 100% or 0%. Like I'm working every day, like 15-hour long days, or, you know, just crazy booked out every day for like no days off for 3 months.
Right.
And then it's like, oh man, I have a whole week where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy. I have no work. Like you're stressed about bills, or you're stressed about, you know, whatever might be going on in your life, to where it's like, at least like freelance, you know, zone, like just try to make sure you're prepared for those slow weeks, you know, or those slow months, you know, or like slow seasons. So like, you know, you get like, you do a festival or something, you get a big fat check from that, like squirrel some of that away for a, you know, a rainy day. And just, you know, don't be like, oh, I got this fat check, I'm going to go buy a new piece of gear. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to go out to eat every night, you know, just like make sure you're like, you know, treat yourself. Of course, everyone deserves to be like, you know, I want to buy that piece of gear I've been thinking about for a few months, or I want to, you know, take my lady out, but don't just, you know, keep in mind, like there's going to be slow days. So you got to be aware of it at least.
Yeah, Dane was talking about that last week, the grind life, right, Dane?
Oh yeah. It's, you know, it's a hard thing about being in freelance or starting your own business and stuff like that. And me and Johnny are, you know, doing exactly that. We're doing it and in the same field as well.
Competition us.
Yeah. Well, we work together. Yeah, I mean, what I've always done to combat that is taken on like multiple jobs. So
just don't say no.
Yeah. Well, but it's like, you know, I have the regular job and everything. Like this week, actually, last night, you know, I have my regular 9 to 5 job, and then I had this private event in a suite at Red Rock, and that went on from like 7 p.m. I was there till like 2 a.m. You know, getting home at like 3, waking up at 7, and going to work.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
Well, you remember I said like, oh, you know, I have weeks that I call Hell Week. Yeah. Well, this wasn't necessarily like Hell Week, but the past couple weeks I've been like busy with studio stuff, or like just other like client work and stuff like that. And then last night was, I love it. I love those like private shows in hotel rooms. But yeah, it was. It's just you lose sleep and then you try and catch up eventually.
We've all had those nights driving home to the sun rising, you know?
Yeah.
Something you guys are gonna totally bust me, but something kind of romantic about that, though. I mean, first of all, it's a great feeling because you finished it, but the sun coming up. I listened to like some West Texas country guy. If I like finish something and I'm like, I think
Sorry, not to. I just want to go on what you just said. There's something that like when you do like a couple days or something of like long hours working 15, 16 hours or something, there's something by the end of it that you feel very accomplished. And then there's also something very, it almost just gets primal eventually. It's like when you've been walking for 16 hours to 24 hours and you have no sleep, barely any food, definitely not enough water. And you're like, I'm just on autopilot. Like, it's just primal feeling almost.
Well, I mean, with that lifestyle, it's like, is there, I mean, you kind of went over a little bit, but is there anything specific you do for like self-care? Like, are you doing anything to, I just want to make sure, man, because every time I talk to you, you're like, I gotta let you go, because I'm sure with that industry, man, burnout is a real thing. I mean, you mentioned slow weeks, but let's be honest. When was the last time you had a real slow week? I think you told me the other day, like, yeah, it's the first day off I've had in like 3 months. Like,
yeah.
Is there anything self-care wise in your daily routine or like practices that you do to avoid that burnout that you could share with us?
I've been trying to be better about it lately, and I definitely don't take gigs anymore that are like, hey, let me get in at 2 a.m. or something. I don't take those anymore. And I don't even do like a lot of live sound anymore. The only live sound I'll do is with this one company I work for that's like bigger gigs with like, real name artists. So I'll do that stuff. And then sometimes if I'm renting out my own PA, but I don't kind of, there's a lot of gigs in town like, oh, you're just playing at this lounge band in a bar or something, like, unless it's for a friend or something, I kind of just don't do those because it's like high stress, low pay, and
That's a bummer.
I already have so much stuff going on that like I kind of don't need it. Just cutting down, like learning to say no. I think it's important when you start out to always say yes, but there's a point where you got to learn to say no, and like I can't do that. I'm booked too much, and like I'm trying to be better about trying to be home in the evenings to like eat dinner with my wife if I can, or like just spend time with her. And like, I'm really, really bad about this. I don't sleep very well. I know you guys talked about that last week, but it's hard for me to get up early, but I've been trying to get out, walk the dog, and like, because my wife gets up early. She has like a corporate element to part of her work where she's like in meetings and video chat calls with different companies that they're doing videos for and stuff. So she's like gets up early. So I need to be better about it by getting up, staying away from the phone, and walking the pup, and just getting fresh air, and doing the morning thing. Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do. I think it's important to take as much work as you can, and then find the point where you're making enough money to support yourself and your family to where you can start saying no to certain gigs, and like, okay, I have a threshold, like I can't be working for $25 an hour anymore.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, always have a minimum. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough too when you do your passion for your gig, because then it's like, you know what I mean? Like you mentioned, learn to say no, but you're also enjoying what you're doing sometimes too,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah.
So it's like, but just in closing this last, like, kind of deeper stuff with you, man. So like, it seems like stuff's going well. I'm super, super proud of you, super happy. But if you sat down with like young Johnny, is there any like specific advice that you would give him, or would you change anything, or you should just follow God's plan? Would you kind of keep doing what you're doing? Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think everything happens for a reason, so I wouldn't want to change anything, because then the next thing might not happen, or this or that. Like I always joke and say, like, man, if I would have known, I would have just dropped out of high school and started this earlier. So I started in the work field and went and interned at a studio. But if I would have done that, I wouldn't have met my wife, and then I probably wouldn't even live in Vegas. I wouldn't be at Tone Factory. I wouldn't know you guys. So it's like, I wouldn't, I wouldn't really want to tempt fate.
Well, what if you just want to give yourself advice? Hey, man, watch out. And it doesn't even have to be, audio related. Just any kind of like life advice. And I know that's super broad, But
No, yeah. I honestly think that it sounds super cheesy, but like just be a good person, man, and it'll come back, the whole karma thing, you know. I've
so true.
there's been a lot of opportunities that have kind of just fell in my lap that I feel like they've just fell in my lap, or it's like, oh, I didn't even like necessarily go out and search for this job, or I didn't like this gig. I didn't necessarily even go find it. It just happened. But I think it's because I try to be a good person. I'm always thinking, when I was a kid and we were going somewhere, my mom would always be like talking to me and my three sisters, like, okay, please and thank you. Make sure you open the door for ladies, pull the chair out, open the door for a lady, you know, all that stuff. And like, just be like a good person. So I kind of always had that in the back of my head. And I think that has helped me progress so much. And just like, when you're pleasant to be around, people want to be around you. I would say in whatever field you're an engineer and you're, you know, a construction worker, you're a business guy, a lawyer, whatever. I think there could be someone who's like better than you at your job. Like you got to be good at what you do, of course, but there could be someone that's technically maybe better than you, but they're like maybe not a joy to be around, or they're kind of a, you know, a jerk or something. They're going to pick the nice person that they want to be around every time.
1000%.
And then that just makes your career or your field go, because that gives you more work, which gives you more experience, which then makes you progress. And it's like,
Yeah,
it's a circle.
dude, that's huge, because no one person can carry a whole show, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all about a team. If you're great to work with, if you're easy to work with, and you get the job done and all that stuff, like that's what people really care about in the industry. And it's so important. Even the veterans out there, like the ones that just actually look like they hate it, and they're so moody all the time and everything. Like people will kick them off of shows and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and I get it. I get why they can be moody sometimes, but
well, I appreciate you, man, in being open about that, and I'm really glad to hear that. Like, for some reason, it stood out to me. You're like, hey, man, I'd like to be home to have dinner with my wife. Like, those little moments, it's so important. And that's your legit ride or die. You know what I mean? And the fact that you're making an effort to even verbally be like, hey, dude, I want to be home. I want to keep the phones, keep the technology away. Because that's, without that stuff, man, without your girl, without your family, your friends, it's just going to be chaos, man. So I appreciate you sharing some of that stuff, dude. I did want to just, I got a cool, fun things I just want to ask you guys real quick. Unless, Dane, am I stepping on you for any reason?
No.
All right, cool. So you're on a 10-hour road trip, right? And you can only listen to one artist. So comment down below, pause this, or say to whoever you're listening to this with or yourself. And I know there's a lot. I got some heavy hitters here. What are one of the, if you want to be badass, pick one artist that you're going to listen to for that full 10 hours. You can, look around their works, but Johnny, do you want to start? Because this is a big question.
Yeah, I have my answer, but it depends. My answer is Coulter Wall for sure. Like that's like my favorite artist of all time right now, and like all of his music is so good and great road trip driving music. However, it depends on who I'm with, because like Allie she likes his music, but like I have it on so much. She's like, can we listen to something else?
10 hours of that, dude?
Oh, definitely on repeat.
Wow.
I can listen to one of his albums.
Shout out Coulter Wall.
But if I'm with anybody else and not trying to drive them crazy, I would pick Tom DeLonge, because that's different groups that you can do.
No, not allowed. Not allowed. I knew you were going to say Blink.
Against the rules.
Tom DeLonge is the lead singer of Blink-182 and Boxcar Racer.
Angels and Airways. Boxcar,
Angels and Airways. Nope. It's either Angels, Blink, or Boxcar. 10 hours.
Blink,
you know how long 10 hours is?
It'd be Blink.
Yeah, Blink.
Because if you choose Boxcar, you only got one album.
Dane, go ahead, Papa.
Hey, John. I think 10 hours is 10 hours long.
Whatever, dude.
Do you know how long that is?
No, I had to say it. Sorry, man.
Who you picking?
I picked the entire Sony catalog.
Seems pretty fair.
Yeah. No. Honestly, it would totally depend, because I have I have songs that I listen to for 10 hours straight. It just depends. But I would, if I had to, I would probably say Gorillaz would be a good candidate.
They have enough.
That's a good discography.
Listen, and I do not want to be a jerk to Gorillaz. That's what's called discography. How do you say it?
Discography.
Discography. I didn't even know all I know is I'm happy.
Dude,
Wow, I didn't know they had 10 hours worth of jams.
I would binge. I'd play video
No, they have
games.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd play video games and binge Demon Days like for hours. So,
That's an album?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's also.
I thought you guys would both say Dust and Coins available wherever you stream. 8 songs
on all streaming platforms.
8 songs of Fury, or just download the Uplift every episode for 10 hours.
Yeah.
No, I think okay. So Gorillaz.
Yeah, what's yours?
Dane, Johnny is Coulter Wall or Blink. But
what about you?
Yeah, but if you're just alone, it'd be Coulter Wall.
Coulter Wall, yeah, that's my answer.
What about you?
I think honestly, I didn't want to just say Blink because that's up there. But dude, I think one of them, dude, Sublime has such a good catalog. Like I love that.
It's all good, but there's not that many.
You're right. You're right.
There's not 10 hours. I'll tell you that.
And then there's all right. Let me just Posty. I know you guys aren't big Post Malone guys, but he has a huge now he has a country album coming out called F1 Trillion or something.
Yeah,
it might be Posty for me. Posty or Blink, or maybe We Came as Romans. We Came as Romans has a ton of awesome. I could just listen to them for hours. But let me list off these heavy.
I love Post Malone, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we Came as Romans, Post Malone. Oh, Queen.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Or
Led
the Beatles,
Zeppelin,
dude. The Beatles. I could listen to the Beatles for 10 hours.
Sublime.
I was just thinking about Queen. I'm like, Gorillaz is kind of my jam right now. But Queen would be such a good one because
you could
everything.
put Freddie on and just cruise, dude. Like different moods. Like with Freddie Mercury, Queen. Like you could, you know what? Should I say Queen? I don't know.
The thing about those bands as well is like they're all like one genre, right? Like Queen's rock, Gorillaz is like dance, I guess EDM sometimes, but alternative as well. But they mix so many genres together. Like every song is different, so like they're great bands to spend 10 hours with because you're not listening to the same thing. So.
I will put this, talking about Queen, there is a great photo that if you can find it, you may be able to put in like the corner right here or something of you and me standing on the table at Crown and Anchor here in Las Vegas singing Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was that's just another great night. I love Crown and Anchor.
Oh yeah.
What do you guys think is like, what do you think? I'm actually so curious. Like, how do you feel the current like trend of modern music's going? Like I was thinking that in the gym yesterday. I wanted to ask you guys, like, and you guys have your finger on the pulse, and now you like hear people actually making music in 2024. Like, what do you think? Are we doomed?
It's a weird question because I think there's tons and tons and tons of great music being made right now of every genre, but what's on the radio is a different story, and but which also doesn't necessarily matter as much. Like I just said, like Coulter Wall's my favorite artist. He's not even really on the radio. Like maybe a couple local channels here or there, but he's not like you don't hear him on the charts or anything. But he has a huge following and like just like made it on his own. I think he's on like a small label now, but that's like only artists like that, where it's like kind of. I think they call it like indie country or Western or whatever, but it's like the artists are out there. You just have to find them.
Yeah, not for sure.
What do you think, Dane? How do you think like, and not even God bless Johnny, the radio or just like trending music and stream, but or the radio. You're right. No, it's just Taylor Swift and that's it. Like, we're my Swifties. Good for her, man. Listen, I get it. She has cool music. It's just like
Taylor Swift's great. I like some of her songs, and like some of her songs I'll actually like listen to, and
I'll actually like put on for repeat for 10 hours straight.
Maybe not that, but I'm a fan of her songs. So there's mainstream music and stuff like that we've had forever. I think a lot of the most popular music it's very fleeting. It's like it's popular 1 month and then it's gone the next. So it's really difficult to nail that down. But like Johnny's saying, I think people have gone from watching MTV when it actually had music,
Yeah.
or like listening to the radio, or even early .com days, where YouTube would have all the popular music videos and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I think, like Johnny said, people are straying away from just like, this is what you listen to and this is the music that's out there, and they're finding music.
That's true.
And so it really, like, if you want to make it in the industry, the biggest thing is like just develop that social media following. It's not about the label, it's not about
Yeah.
any of that stuff anymore. You have to create your own hype and your own micro audience within the platform. And people, they want to listen to what they want to listen to. They don't want to get fed like what some program wants you to listen to. So
I was talking to our friend Wyatt Turner the other day, and he had a great idea. He said nobody listens to the radio anymore, and like it barely exists. It'll probably be gone soon. And his idea is like to keep it going and to keep it interesting. They should just not play any hits on the radio anymore. No more like major label music. The radio should be for local artists only. Yeah. Like new up and comers. I was like, dude, that's a great idea.
It's a cool idea, but I don't think that would.
Oh, it would never work. But
ever fly.
I mean,
too much money.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, I asked that because I was in my gym. It's so quiet, but they let us put stuff on YouTube, and so I put on like festivals just because they're an hour long. And I was looking at it, and I was like, dude, the commercialization of music festivals has gotten so out of hand, even from like 2010 Tomorrowland. Like I like EDM, whatever. I like it. I've never been to a fest, but to like where it's at now, it's so commercialized, and it's like so expensive to go to. Like, what do you think of that? And do you guys have any just real quick wild stories from working them? Because I know you guys have worked EDC or all different live or the punk rock fest you were just working, Johnny. Any like crazy stories? Or just thoughts on where we're at with like festival life or anything?
I'm not a fan of working festivals. I did the punk rock festival, the punk rock bowling, and that was like a smaller festival too. And it was just like kind of a niche, I wouldn't say niche, but like a different, like a genre I'm interested in at least, I guess. But it's just a grueling week of just like hard work, long hours, and like I'm not built for that stuff, man. Like these guys that work these festivals are basically carnies, dude. They're like this is what they live and breathe, and they're on the road all the time. And like I'm in the studio in my nice chair with a pillow, like a nice AC. So like I mean, I love doing live sound as well, but I very rarely do festivals.
Yeah, I think I'm more. I do more live sound things than I think Johnny does most of the time.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, festivals are way different. Like, or just even some of the corporate major events. They're very long days and a lot of lifting and stuff like that. Like, you definitely. What I love about them, like I was saying earlier, it's like it's a visceral thing, and when I'm like on a job for 24 hours and I've been walking and I can barely walk because my ankles are like swollen and messed up. It's just it's a primal feeling. It's like you just worked out like 24 hours straight, basically.
Yeah. Dude, when you did that Fontainebleau opening, oh my gosh, and you were like the head backline guy, you were just like, it was crazy.
Yeah. And that's one that I think about because it was, barely any water, barely any food.
Yeah.
Just work. But, I enjoyed it. And there's a bit of like a bonding kind of thing with your team there. Like people will remember if you did like a decent job or whatever, they'll be like, yeah, you're part of the Fontainebleau crew, or like,
and employers too, or like, when you're working these events, it's not just your company. There's tons of companies there. And so it's you got to do your best to when other companies be like, hey, that guy's working really hard and doing a really good job.
Yeah.
I need to find out that guy's info for the next gig.
Yeah. Yeah. And you definitely like, you'll know the people that are the mains, the people who work hard and do a good job, and
the people with the bags under their eyes. No.
Yeah, basically, and the people who are just kind of kicking back and sitting on the cases. Yeah.
I never did audio stuff, but I definitely bartended Life is Beautiful and 1 October.
Oh, yeah.
It's wild. You're right. Yeah, it's so true because you're in that together. And by that Sunday, because it was Friday night, Saturday night, then Sunday, you're in it together.
Yeah.
You do form a little bond with those festival like co-workers.
Definitely.
It's like,
that is a thing.
And it's one of those circumstances when you're sober, at least most of us were, and you see everyone else hammering, you're like, damn, dude, is that what I look like? Listen, I know you got to get out of here. You got stuff going on, and I'm stoked you gave some of your time. So let's get you out of here in like 10 more minutes. I got one more question, and then we got one more crazy question. Then we'll get you out of here.
Oh boy.
Yo,
Let's go.
I need you to help give our audience some legit newbie advice for making music. It's kind of a two-parter. Like some newbie advice to making music, but more importantly, what I really want to get to is like studio etiquette. Like I just think that people they see, yo, I'm gonna get this one next time. They see like this beautiful top of line, unbelievably valuable studio. So do you have any tips on both making music, but also like one I want to hit is studio etiquette, Johnny? Or then we'll go to Dane. But what do you think? Like, what would you tell someone that's like?
Yeah. As far as like studio etiquette, we understand that people are like new to music, and like we have people like I said, been here a million times, or this is their first time. So I get it, especially if it's your first time, like you don't know, but like book ahead of time, like plan this out for multiple reasons. Just so like, okay, you want to be there on Wednesday. Don't wait till Wednesday to say, hey, can I get in? Like I get people kind of don't understand or don't realize it's not like, a bank or Walmart or like a car dealership, it's like,
right.
Like you got to prepare for this stuff, but not only like, if you went in on Wednesday, if you call the same day, we're probably booked. It's not going to happen, or you'll be like, I have a lot of people who call and be like, hey, can I get in today? I'm like, man, I'm booked up from 11 a.m. to midnight. They're like, that's fine. I don't mind. I'll get in at midnight. I'm like, dude, I just told you that I'm working like 12 hours. You know what I mean? Yeah. So definitely book ahead of time to be sure you can get the day you want, but also just so you can have time to mentally prepare and like practice and rehearse and,
right.
all that. And then also just come prepared. Don't like wait to get to the studio and be like, hey, can you download this beat for me? Take some initiative and like, get it prepped and ready. And if you can, and you have the means to, I get it. Like some people are just doing it for fun. So like, yeah, just to get this YouTube beat, whatever. But if you're like trying to take it serious and do it for real, like save up and like actually have someone make a beat for you or buy an actual beat with the track outs, or at least buy the wave, from like BeatStars or something. Try to do it as pro as you can financially do it,
What about actual like mannerisms? Should they show up hammered?
Yeah, probably not. Dude, there's so many sessions that Dane and I have both had where people come to Vegas and it's like, weed is legal here. And they just get the craziest, most, like potent weed. And they're just like sitting back in the couch, just like, I just want to listen to beats, man.
Well, dude, the sound system in there, it is like unlike anything else most people have heard. Like you guys are numb to it, but dude, I remember when you guys turn on very expensive quality German speakers, you're like, yo, I sound like that, homie? Wow.
Yeah. And you haven't even heard the new bigs. We just got new PAs that are like four 15-inch tops, 2 tweeters, and then 6 18-inch subs.
I got some Skull Candy.
Are those
speakers.
installed?
Yeah, they're installed now.
Yeah, I got to come down and check it out.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. We still got to tune them a little bit, but they're pretty amazing.
But
No,
okay,
cool.
so you gave the professional stuff, but I mean like even people, what about like looking over your shoulder, interrupting, or even in a positive way? Like I know that it's a nerve-wracking thing. I mean, people need to relax, right? They're paying for it.
That makes me think of 2 things. One is just like as an engineer or for engineers, not even the artist, like you got to learn to read your client, because there's like some clients that are like new to this and they're like, they don't know necessarily like how to like stack vocals or do harmonies or whatever. So like
intimidating.
You got to like read the client, because some of them like you kind of learn to read people and be like, oh, I think, why don't you try this? And then they want that, but also some people are like, don't tell me what to do,
Yeah.
So you got to kind of like read the situation and like figure out, okay, how can I be what they want me to be as their engineer, you know?
Mm.
And then for people like when you're mixing, and like I actually don't really like the client to be there while I'm mixing. I like to like get it 90% there and then have them come in at the very end and be like, okay, let's finish it together. Because there's so many people. What I always say is like I'll just have just the drums up and I'll be like, maybe have something turned up a little bit too loud so I can hear what's going on. And they're like, oh, I don't like that. Or like I'm auditioning different reverbs. Like, oh, that sounds awful. That's way too much reverb. I'm like, man, you're tasting the pie before it's finished. You know, like,
oh, listen to this guy.
let me cook it up a little bit, and then you take a little taste, and we'll finish. You know,
let him cook.
Yeah, exactly. Let him cook.
Wow, Dane. I mean, you've been in the dog days too, man. Anything you could help someone that's never been in, or any advice to our noobs, our greens, or just people that think they know? Like,
yeah.
I think, by the way, I think you should buy every 30 rack in the vicinity and make a throne. That's very worth $85 an hour.
I'm not saying you should do that, but that was a fun night.
No, I think it's mandatory. That's how you make good music.
100%.
This is how I feel about everything, especially when you're talking about like creative stuff. It's not just about one person as far as like what it takes to get a good result, like out of a track or whatever it is. Like really, it's about finding a combination. Like if you're looking for a studio, find a producer or recording engineer, whatever you're needing, who you work well with. Because someone could be like the most highly skilled engineer out there or whatever, but ultimately, like it takes a team of people to make it happen. Like if it's your music and you're needing the assistance of like a songwriter, engineer, producer, whatever it is, like you need to find the right one to get the job done. Like, you know, me and you, John, we worked on a whole album together, and I think that was still some of my favorite music that I've ever worked on. And we worked really well together, you know.
For sure.
And I think like even along the way there's stuff that I was learning, you were learning. You know, it's not always about the engineer that, you know, can produce a bad result. Sometimes it's like the combination of people just you don't work well together. So
get that synergy going. No, that makes total sense for sure.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
like it's definitely the responsibility of the engineer because you're paying them to lead the session to success, but it's also your responsibility to make sure that you're doing everything as well to make that happen. Like not having the engineer focus on things like, is this guy going to pay me? Or I'm trying to get out of here because it's stressful to work with this person.
Yeah.
So anything you can do to like just bring the focus to the music and not to like, I want to get out of here, right?
Yeah.
So you're just having fun.
It's important to find the right engineer for you as well, because, you know, you may be working with somebody who's a good engineer and they know what they're doing, and they may even be a nice guy, but they might not like jive with your music, or they might not jive with the way you like to work. You know, you may like to work really fast with a lot of punch-ins, and they're just not. That stresses them out. Or maybe the vice versa. They want to like punch you in a whole bunch and like, okay, let's work really fast. And you want to take your time. So like that doesn't make them a bad engineer. It just makes them not the right engineer for you and your project at this time. You know.
Let me get another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, for people wanting to be audio engineers, like at the end of the day, you need to do that. You need to do that for clients and all that stuff. But it's just to say, like, if you really want the project to go well, and you want to try and ensure that, you know, you have the best possible chance of like this being an amazing song, it's just do everything you can to make it about the music and to make that successful. And then hopefully your engineer is doing the same thing, and then you come together and you make something that is awesome. Yeah, make some art.
Well, I'll say this is that someone not from an audio background that just stumbled up to studio one time with a bottle of like Hennessy or something. But like anything that we talk about here on Download the Uplift, it's going to be a little weird at first, but I think that you guys are both really good. I'm sure at just making people feel comfortable because it is a psych. It's like a psych out going into one of those places because you've built up.
Yeah.
Turn my headphones up. But
Yeah.
and then but you guys are kind of like have to be, and I've experienced it from both of you. You kind of have to be like mini therapists a little bit, like encouraging, like no, don't worry, man, we'll get another one, or like, oh, dude, let's take a break. Like, there's been times with Dane and Johnny, both of you guys have been like, hey, let's go outside for a little bit, just get away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that what you guys, there is a big part of like the mental aspect because, bro, if you go into, I mean, Johnny brought up the Post Malone song that came out that they what was that song? The one where they actually recorded, but they were in their own heads and they knew it had to be perfect.
Oh no, like everyone's been hearing like the demo version of it, like just playing in the room, and then when the song actually came up, we're like, oh, it doesn't sound as good as like I liked it better before when we were hearing it like before it was mixed or whatever. But it was like you were hearing the demo when they're like in the moment, like psyched writing the song, like oh my god, yeah. We've gotten it.
Matters
and then
so much.
when it's released, it's like okay, this is the perfect melodined, auto-tuned, everything, lined up perfect version of it.
Where did the soul go, guys? Where was the
basically
soul?
that.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about that too. I mean, there's demoitis where but sometimes it's like you can do too much, and it just sounded better as it was.
Well, we'll get you out of here with this last question, and then we'll do our little outro. That's so much fun, Johnny and Dane. Are we in a simulation?
Yeah, duh. No, I don't think so. No, I don't really think so.
You honestly don't think so?
I honestly don't think so. No. There's.
Yesterday I was at a stoplight. Okay, I was at a traffic light.
Did you see like you looked over and there was like all red cars at one light, all blue cars at one light, and all green cars at another light? Because I've seen that before and thought maybe I'm in a simulation. That's like a glitch.
Yo, this guy pulled up in like an old Toyota, like blue rusty Tercel, right? And in Texas, it's like, I don't know why every state doesn't do it, but there's a lane specifically for U-turns that never stops. You can always go back the other way without sitting at a light. There's a U-turn lane. I look at there, I'm sitting here, bumping the beats, right? And I look over and I see the rusty blue Tercel. And I see him put it in reverse and back up. Okay, so he's on my left. I looked at my rearview mirror, gone. There was no guy. There was no car. There was no nothing. I don't know how I somehow listen. I'm a man of faith. And my solo videos, I always have a Bible verse. I know there's a reason why I haven't died. The dog days, the bender days, but there's also like, on the simulation side of it, I'm like, bro, maybe the reason I'm sitting here talking to these two awesome guys that are in my life, maybe I am in the simulation too.
We're not even real, dude.
But yeah, I don't want to bring anybody going crazy, but
but it's fun to think about.
It's weird. That guy disappeared.
I brought this up. Me and my girlfriend were talking about it just yesterday, I think, actually. So how's that for a simulation?
Whoa.
Yeah, Twilight Zone. No, but she was joking. She said that classic thing, like if a tree falls down in a forest and no one's there to observe it, does it make a sound? And I was like, not if they programmed us right. It'd be wasteful programming to like render something that no one's seeing. So.
Maybe you guys saying that, who knows, is part of my simulation. Maybe I'm in a Matrix pod just fueling the Overlord robot people.
Yeah, dude, everything that we don't see is just, it's backwards calling. It's just not there.
I would just like to say that humans would make terrible batteries.
What do you mean? We generate a ton of heat. We'd be all right.
No, you generate a ton of heat, but not a ton of electricity.
Yeah,
the heat can be turned water into steam. But I'm not lying to you guys. That guy disappeared. He was next to me.
I believe you.
First of all, backed up in a lane like you're not supposed to, and he was gone.
It was like the Matrix cat. It was not,
yeah.
No, that's like deja vu.
Yeah, it's not deja vu, but
yeah.
But dude, so do you know the original premise of the Matrix? They weren't
originally supposed to be batteries, right?
Yeah. It wasn't batteries. What the original idea was using the power of our minds to process information, which actually makes more sense than the battery idea.
Like a biocomputer, yeah.
Yeah, but because the Matrix came out in a time where like no one was even really thinking about the simulation possibility thing.
96, right?
No one's even talking about computers that much or the internet.
Yeah,
no one,
yeah.
you know. Yeah, I saw that same video and they were talking about that.
Yeah, so they were just like the concept
1999.
seems like it's going to be very hard to explain to people. So let's
Just
call
make
it
a battery. It's fine.
Yeah, so simple like battery.
Yeah, everyone knows what a battery is. Everyone uses D-cell batteries all the time, and they will forever, and will never not use them.
Yeah,
Well, I guess it kind of just remains to be seen. If you're listening to this, maybe you're part of my simulation. Who knows? And I don't know. But I do want to, we're going to get you out of here, Johnny. And I do want to truly thank you, man, for not only being on the podcast tonight, but I do want to say to our audience, this was our first interview. And just like Dane and I close every week, man, we try to better ourselves in our show for you every week. So it might have been a little rocky, but I think it sounded pretty cool. And we're going to try and improve. And when we have you back in a couple months, we'll move on from there. But I definitely appreciate your time, man. And not only your time on here, but as a friend, as a brother, as an artist. And I almost got a little teary-eyed. Thank you so much for your time, man. For real. I just want to tell you, man, this is awesome. So yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the kind words. And dude, I love you, brother. Always here for you, both of you guys. And I'll be glad to be back for the next one, brother.
yeah, same here, man.
Dane, is there anything else that you want to say in this episode 7?
I think it's gone awesome. I like having the guests and everything. So I'm excited to see what other guests we have, and excited to get Johnny back on, and maybe we can get more specific about, you know, certain things that we've done like in the audio industry. And
Yeah, I mean, this could be a 5-hour podcast, but hopefully.
Oh, yeah, we could go. Yeah.
But Johnny, was there anything else that you wanted to go over?
I think we covered it all until next time.
sounds
Well,
good.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. We truly appreciate your time. This was Download the Uplift, a place where when we fall, we try and uplift you. Thank you so much for listening, y'all.
Rock and roll.
Peace.